The Wedding Date 2005. The Wedding Date is a 2005 American romantic comedy film directed by Claire Kilner and starring Deborah Messing, Dermot Mulroney, and Amy Adams. Based on the 2002 novel Asking for Trouble by Elizabeth Young, the film is about a single woman who hires a male escort to pose as her boyfriend at her sister's wedding in order to deceive her ex-fiancé, who dumped her a few years earlier. The film was released on February 4, 2005, and grossed $47 million. Plot. So it turns out Amy, played by a young Amy Adams, is getting married, and she sends an invitation to her half-sister Kat, asking her to be her maid of honor. Amy is in England while Kat is in New York, so she has to go on a long trip to see her family again for this important ceremony. But Kat doesn't have a boyfriend, and at home, as always, her acquaintances don't know what's happened to them, so she hires a suitor to accompany her. But it turns out the best man at the wedding is none other than her ex, whom she was about to marry, but his ex dumped her suddenly without saying why. It hurts, well, I've heard. Then Kat tells the man she hired, Nick, that he has to pretend to be her boyfriend to impress the ex who dumped her. It turns out Nick was quite the connoisseur of women, and they liked him, an alpha male that women crave. But he was also nice to men, so the boyfriend liked him almost immediately. At a meeting at a bar where the couple was, talk came up that the couple had to rehearse a dance. The boyfriend found it a nuisance, but Nick politely told him that he and Kat would accompany them to the classes, which pleased the boyfriend and encouraged him to take the classes. Ed asks Nick how he knows so much about women. Nick replies that he's a gigolo, which makes Ed laugh because he doesn't believe him, but it makes us laugh even more because we know the truth. Before a game, he gives Kat some advice on how to build self-confidence, all because Kat tested him. This touched the pride of the alpha male. Then Nick pushes her against the car, and begins to speak in her ear. Kat felt like her knees were jelly and her little legs were shaking. She thought that Nick would take advantage of her and kiss her at least. She wanted to resist but her body did not respond, but oh disappointment, he only whispered some advice in her ear. On bachelorette party night, Kat goes out partying with the girls in some rather exotic outfits. When she returns home drunk, she seduced Nick. She tasted him all over. I have no proof, but I also have no doubt that she did everything to him. Nick, being a true alpha male, went with the flow, relaxed, and cooperated. But after a drunken night, a hangover sets in. Kat can't remember anything and asks Nick what happened. He lies and tells her nothing happened. As if that weren't enough, Nick finds the money Kat was supposed to pay him for his services. Nick is offended and returns the money, telling her it wasn't in full. An event for my Chusco is that your dad catches you getting off a boat, with a hangover and without panties and all disheveled trying to get home when the sun's rays are at their peak. You girls think what this means to you. Kat tries to make her former love, Jeffrey, jealous, so she shows off her skills in the ball game. But after everything the adorable, fake couple had been through, there was no need for them to make an effort to pretend they were in love, because it didn't smell like romance, it reeked of romance. Although in a love story not everything is honey on flakes, during a family meal, Nick goes looking for Amy to join the family, and when he suddenly finds her, he does so in a situation that Nick wanted to swallow him up, because there was Jeffrey putting his hands on Amy. For some reason Nick didn't tell Kat. I think it was because of lack of time. I trust that he would have, but he didn't, and then the night before the wedding, Kat discovers that Amy slept with Jeffrey when they were still together and that he abandoned her because he believed he was in love with Amy. Kat argues with Amy, and in a bit of confusion, Amy confesses that she's tasted her ex-fiancé several times. When she saw Kat's surprised face, she understood her mistake, since Amy thought Nick had told her. So, because of this, Kat knew that Nick already knew and didn't tell her. Kat felt betrayed by everyone and rejects Nick. I think it's understandable in that situation. Imagine knowing that everyone knows, even the one who just arrived, and you don't. Nick decides to return to the United States and leaves Kat the money she had paid him on that night of passion. On the day of the wedding, seeing Kat's distress, her stepfather asks her if Nick is the man for her. He says a series of things that suggest he knew who Nick really was, so he tells her that if Nick was what she needed, that alone would be enough, everything else didn't matter. Kat realizes this is true, so she sets off to find Nick. Meanwhile, just before the wedding ceremony, Amy confesses her betrayal to her fiancé Ed, but professes her love for him. Annoyed, Ed chases Jeffrey through the church and down the street. Jeffrey insists he's given up on Amy and believes he's done nothing wrong. To which Ed calls him a traitor, though Jeffrey still believes he's not wrong, as he slept with Amy before she and Ed dated. Ed yells that Jeffrey was engaged to Kat, proving he was still wrong about what he did to Kat. So Ed still had plenty of reasons to beat Jeffrey's ass. Nick picks Ed up in a car as Jeffrey disappears into the woods. They talk about love, and Ed decides he loves Amy more than he's angry. To make it even clearer that he should go back, Nick tells Ed that if he did, the couple would end up having great make-up sex. So poor Ed, Amy doesn't deserve him, but she's who he wants, and he has her, so good for him. They return to the church, with Nick as the new best man. Just before the ceremony, Nick tells Kat that he's realized that, "I'd rather fight with you than make love to anyone else," and they kiss passionately. Kat and Nick begin a real relationship, and he quits his job. Amy and Kat reconcile. Kat's cousin TJ also apparently enjoys some time with Woody after the wedding. Jeffrey learns absolutely nothing and is seen trying to get the attention of a neighbor at the end. And the movie ends with 2 new couples, or maybe 3. Comments. Needless to say, critics weren't kind to the film, giving it a 3 out of 10 rating. I honestly don't understand what arguments they're using to disqualify it, since the film is a romantic comedy, and that's what it has, comedy and romance. On the other hand, we have a person who is dedicated to satisfying women for money, and he does it very well, worth every dollar they spend, but that's not the dilemma here, but Kat's argument, falling in love with someone like that. And if one day someone finds out, and her prestige goes underground, the pain and shame she'll feel. So it's always better to have someone like Jeffrey, who although he cheated on her with his sister, but there's no reputation to cover up, after all, she didn't find out that her sister ate her boyfriend, so out of sight, out of mind. Well, that's all, thank you very much for listening to me, bye.